Hi, everybody. My name's Paul. I'm your English teacher for the next few minutes. Today's topic is one of my favorites in the English language. It's phrasal verbs. One of the reasons why I like phrasal verbs is because sometimes when we speak English, we're not even aware that we are using them. So, of course, we're all aware of grammar, vocabulary, synonyms, antonyms, tenses, all of these things. But something that we're not so aware of are phrasal verbs. And when we speak English as a native language, like I do, we're not always aware that people may find them difficult to understand because they are very natural to us. So they are something that's really, really good to learn. The thing about phrasal verbs is that there's no real way to learn them without learning them. So some of them are quite literal, but others, if we translate them from English into your own language, they can be very strange and sound very odd indeed. So I've done this work with many students, and it's something that I find and that they find, both of us find very, very useful to learn. So what is a phrasal verb? It's basically a phrase, something that we say that consists of a verb with a preposition or an adverb or both. The meaning of which can be very different from the meaning of its separate parts. So in other words, something that sounds a bit strange, that doesn't make much sense. Once we say it as a phrasal verb, then it does, but we have to learn them first. So some examples are to pay for, to work out, to make up for. Now, work out is an interesting one because work out can mean work out a problem, work out a maths question, or work out in the gym. So it can mean lots of different things. So I've got some examples that I'm going to go through. We're going to work on ABC today to keep it nice and straightforward. And I've got about 10 phrasal verbs to go through. And they all begin with either A, B, or C, just to keep it nice and compact today. So the first one is act on. So we all know the word act, actor, actress, act in a movie. And in some ways, it's a little bit relevant because to act on something means to take action because of something like information received. So a great example is that the police were acting on an informer tip and caught the gang red-handed. So it's not exactly acting in the sense of the theatre or a movie, but it is that we have to do something. So some phrasal verbs can be slightly connected, if not completely connected, to the word that we associate it with. So we've got act on, that's fine. Act out sounds very similar, but it's a little bit different. So this is actually a bit more linked to the traditional word of act that we might think of in terms of the theatre or in terms of a movie. So to act out something is to perform something with actions and gestures. For example, if we went to a theatre or if we went to a nativity play, we might say they acted out the story on stage. So to act something out does mean the traditional word, as in movie, theatre, to put on a show. Okay, so that's number two. So we can see the differences between act on and act out. These are very, very useful because if we don't know phrasal verbs and we are in a conversation with a native speaker or perhaps somebody who speaks English as a second language but uses phrasal verbs because they are a bit more advanced, if we don't know the phrasal verbs, it can be difficult for us to work out what someone actually means because we might not always be that familiar with what they are talking about. But if they don't use phrasal verbs and they use literal words, most of the time we can kind of work it out. But the difference with phrasal verbs is that if we hear act on, we might think, oh, that's definitely related to acting. And it's not, whereas act out is. The third A that I'm going to look at is act up. So we've got three different phrasal verbs, all beginning with the first word, act, but the prepositions are different. Act on, act out, act up. And they all have quite different interpretations for them. So to act up, it basically means to behave badly or strangely. And the funny thing about this phrasal verb is that we might be talking about a person. So perhaps a child at school who is not behaving very well. Young Johnny was acting up in class today. It means that he's not listening, he's not paying attention, he's not doing his writing, he's not behaving as one would expect. So we can use it to talk about people, children. We can also use it to talk about adults as well. But we might also be talking about objects. So, for example, if our car is not functioning completely correctly, we might say that it's acting up. Now, that doesn't mean that it's broken down. So there's a bit of a difference. So it doesn't mean the car has broken down and it won't move. That's not acting up. But maybe the car is making a funny noise, emitting some smoke, not going as fast as we would normally expect it to. It means that it's acting up. It's not reaching its full capacity. If a computer is acting up, it could have a virus. It could be running very slowly because of a virus. It doesn't mean that the computer is not working, that it's done, that it's finished. It just means that it's not working at its full capacity. So that is the end of the letter A. So act on, act out, and act up. Okay, so hopefully those will help you guys to understand a little bit more about phrasal verbs. The next letter is obviously B. And this is the fourth phrasal verb in our list. And the first one is to back away. Now, this one is fairly literal because if we talk about to back away, if we think about the word back, that means that direction. Away means to move away from something. So it's quite literal, to retreat or withdraw. So, for example, if we were confronted by an angry dog, we might feel a bit scared, a bit frightened, a bit intimidated. Our natural reaction is to move ourselves out of the dangerous situation. So we would back away. So it literally means to go backwards and put distance between us and the dangerous object, which in this case is an angry dog. So back away is quite literal. Back up, not quite so literal, but probably quite a common phrasal verb in this day and age because, we are swamped with technology. Computers are everywhere in our working lives. So to back up something means to support or provide backup. So we might back up something on our computers to save files or photos or whatever it is that we need to save. But we might also talk about it in a physical sense, to back up a friend. We might back up someone in an argument. So we might have two people having a disagreement, and then we think, well, we agree with this person. So we might back them up to support them, to provide backup. It's also a military term as well. If you have a war going on or a conflict, and there's two sides, and one side is getting overwhelmed and overrun, they might call for backup. The police call for backup as well, which means that they need additional support. They need bodies to come and help them. Okay, so that's number 5. Number 6 is to brush up. So brush up. When we think of the word brush, we think of something maybe to comb our hair or maybe to clean our clothes. And there is an element of that being fairly literal, because to brush something means to maybe to make it look better, to refresh, to improve. But to brush up is not with a literal brush. It means to improve something. So, for example, I would like to brush up on my Spanish. I can speak a little bit of Spanish, but I definitely need to brush up on it. So brush up on it means to improve it. It may also mean that we knew something before and perhaps we've forgotten some of it and we need to kind of get it back. So brush up means to refresh, improve. I need to brush up on my Spanish before my holiday to Mexico. Okay, so those are the B's. Now we're going to go into the C's. So number 7, call off. Okay, so to call off something means to cancel. So the meeting was called off due to the storm. The flight was called off because of poor weather. So if we call something off, doesn't necessarily mean that we pick up a phone and we ring someone. It just means that we make a decision not to go through with a particular plan. We might call off a trip because we are not feeling very well. So it means to not do something, to cancel it. Okay, number 8, to carry out. Okay, so if we think about the word carry, our natural reaction is to think, to carry a bag, to carry a suitcase, or something like that, something that would involve our hands. But to carry out in this phrasal verb does not mean that. It means something completely different. It means to complete or execute. In other words, to do something. So, for example, the company carried out its plan to expand into national markets. So it means that it did it. It carried out its plan. It executed its plan. It completed its plan. If we carry out our tasks on a daily basis, it means that we are doing them. If we fail to carry out our tasks, it means that we are not doing them. So carry out has nothing to do with picking up a bag and carrying it out of a shop. It does mean to actually do something. Okay, number 9 is to cut off. Okay, so cut off, we might think, oh, that must mean a knife, and we cut something off the end of something. Not in a phrasal verb, it doesn't, no. So to cut off means to stop or disconnect. So for example, the power was cut off during the storm. So it means that we had connections, the cables there for the electric. It doesn't mean that the cables were actually cut. It means that somewhere along the lines, the disconnection stopped the power from running through. So we were cut off. We did not have the electric. The power was cut off. If we don't pay our bills, the company, if it's an electric company or a gas company or a phone company, they will cut off our connection. Okay, number 10, come across. Okay, so across means to, sort of go across like that. To come across something means to find by chance. So it usually means that we are doing something else and we find something that we weren't really looking for. So if I was looking for something this morning and I found it, I wouldn't necessarily say that I came across it because I was genuinely looking for it. But I was actually looking for something this morning and I came across it by accident. I didn't even know that it was there. Okay. Number 11. Actually, we're going to have a look at something a little bit deeper than the first 10. We're going to have a look at the letter G as well. So get away. So this can have different meanings and they can be quite contrasting as well. So for example, if we say, I've got a getaway booked for next weekend, it means that we're going for maybe a holiday or more likely a short break. A getaway to the countryside or getaway to the beach. But getaway can also have a slightly menacing meaning as well. So, of course, getaway to the countryside, getaway to the beach, very nice, very relaxing. It's all very positive. But to get away in a negative sense of the phrasal verb could mean, the getaway car from the bank robbery. They got away with the stolen money. He got away with murder. So it can have a very positive meaning and it can also have a very negative. Number 12, get back. To return. So I need to get back to work after lunch. So it means to return somewhere. I need to get back to my home country because I miss it so much. It could also mean if perhaps we had lent somebody some money and we want to get back the money, it might mean that we need to call them and ask them, that money that I lent you, when will I get it back? Okay, number 13, get along. Okay, so along, we might think of that as movement, moving along somewhere, but it can have a slightly different meaning with a phrasal verb. So to get along means to have a good relationship, or maybe we're asking about how good a relationship is. So we might say, my parents and I get along well. I get along very well with my sister. I get along very well with my cousins. I don't get along very well with my boss. So it can be definitely positives, and it can also be negatives. We might also possibly use it when we talk about our ability to do things. Oh, I don't get along very well with Excel on a computer. It basically means that we're not very good at it. Or we might say, I don't get along very well with languages. It means that languages are maybe not our strong point. To get up. Okay, so the most literal example of to get up is if we are on the floor and we get up. We also use this to refer to rising from bed. I always get up early on weekdays. I get up at 7 o'clock on Saturdays. I get up at 8 o'clock on Sundays. So it means to basically get out of bed. It doesn't actually mean to wake up because that is something slightly different. We can wake up, but we might not necessarily get up. So to get up is the physical act of rising from bed. Okay, give up. Oh, had enough. Can't do it anymore. I give up. I quit. So it sounds negative, right? Maybe we're trying to do something on Excel, which we don't get along with. And we give up because it's too difficult. But it could also have a positive effect as well. He gave up smoking after 20 years. Go on. So we can actually use this in two different ways. To go on, we might talk about the length of time. The movie will go on for 2 hours. We might use this when we say, when maybe we're talking to a friend and they're talking a lot and maybe they think, oh, I'm talking too much. We say, no, 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 go on. So it means to continue in both senses. Keep up, to maintain pace. So the example, she struggled to keep up with the other runners. So we might talk about keep up in the physical sense, keeping up with runners or keeping up with walkers or keeping up in the gym. We might also talk about keeping up with work as well. So if we are off sick from school or if we're off sick from work, we might fall behind in our work. It's like, oh no, I'm going to fall behind. I need to keep up. I need to work some extra hours. I need to work from home. I need to work on Saturday morning to keep up with what's expected of me. To look after, to take care of. So if we look after something, my grandparents need someone to look after them. We might talk about it with people. We might also talk about it with objects. I look after my laptop because I need it for my work. I look after my telephone because it would be expensive to replace it. Okay, so there's quite a few phrasal verbs, guys. I hope that you find them useful and interesting. They are very valuable parts of the English language to learn. They can help you a great deal with understanding when people use them, when they talk, because native speakers like myself from London, we use them a lot. And a lot of the time, we don't even realize how complicated they might be for someone to hear them and try to translate them if they've never heard them before. So the only way to learn phrasal verbs is to learn phrasal verbs. That simple. Okay. Hope that was good for you guys. All the best. Bye for now.
Чтобы познакомиться с нашими преподавателями поближе, улучшить свой английский, разговорную речь, записывайтесь к нам на уроки. У нас, кстати, есть бесплатное занятие пробное.